Good afternoon, everyone. Are we live? Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome again to the Tourism Congress's uh, new webinar for this week. MIMAROPA, it's Tourism Restart. We would like to thank you again for choosing to spend your afternoon with us. And we are very fortunate today to have some very good panelists that we can discuss the situation in MIMAROPA and in Palawan in particular. And if during the last webinar we had all gorgeous ladies with us, today we are stuck with four men. So mga barako na kasama natin this afternoon. Uh, Without further ado, I would like to introduce today's speakers before they start their presentations. We would like to remind you all that if you have any questions, please type them in and we will do our best to pose the questions to our panelists for today. So to begin with, we have, and we are very lucky that he has time for us today, the Regional Director of Region 4B or the Mimaropa region. We have with us Engineer Christopher R.D. Chris Morales.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Jojo.
Good afternoon, R.D. Chris.
Good
And then
afternoon.
it's also good to have today Mr. Brian Dizon, the President of the Association of Accredited Tourist Accommodations of Puerto Princesa, Palawan, or the AATAPPP. Brian, good
Hi,
afternoon to you.
good afternoon,
Yeah,
Arlie. Hi. Hello.
yeah, yeah. And last but not the least, a very good friend of mine, Mr. Rene Suarez, who is the General Manager of Microtel by Wyndham in Puerto Princesa. So good afternoon, Rene. Good to see you.
Good afternoon, Jojo. Good to see you too. Good afternoon, RD, Chris, and Brian.
Okay. Yeah. So again, thank you very much, gentlemen, for being with us this afternoon, taking time off from your busy schedules. And okay, let's get into it. We would like to start with the presentation of RD Chris. Give us an update on what's going on in your area. RD Chris. Is it muted? Nakamute? I think you're muted, RD Chris.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, to our viewers sa FB Live. So, as an backgrounder, yung impact ng pandemic natin ngayon, COVID-19, with relation to the tourism industry, we have 5.4 million tourism-related jobs that are affected now. And the industry is contributing about 13% to our GDP. So as of starting early 2020 and as of today, we have a decrease in arrivals na around 54%, which approximately 90 billion pesos yung nawawala. So with this scenario, we come up a consultations with different stakeholders of our national organizations and national agencies, with the Tourism Congress of the Philippines, of course, and other interagency discussions with the Department of Tourism. We conducted an FGD identifying main issues and challenges. So, nung na-disrupt ang ating supply chain, na sara ang travel, so destinations are closed, we have concerns on the businesses. So, our stakeholders are in need of working capital to survive. Repayment of their loans are also a big issue. Their tax payment, so since April yung ating ang ating tax payment. So isa sa mga issues na tinitingnan din nila 'yon. And of course, since this is a health issue, the health and safety ng ating workers ay ating titingnan. So the next slide, please. So to be able to recover from the impact of COVID-19, the Department of Tourism drafted a tourism response and recovery plan to yield the most substantive and timely measures to be implemented as soon as possible time. This is still in a work in progress. We have presented this to the both houses of the Congress, the House of Representatives, and also the Senate, and we are proposing a stimulus package for the tourism industry. And we are focusing on getting our partner beneficiaries, the DOT accredited establishments and individuals, our primary and secondary tourism establishment, as well as the informal sector to be our beneficiaries, to be able to cope up with this pandemic. We identified five major main strategies. One is to provide them the immediate needs of tourists. The immediate needs of our tourists and stakeholders. This is what we call our response phase. So, initial response natin. So, we assisted the tourists and travelers that are affected. Of course, we repurpose and utilize public and private assets for our quarantine facilities. So now there are some establishments that we are using for quarantine facilities, as well as provide the necessary module or medium for appropriate communication dissemination of the accurate information and responses by the department as well as by the local government unit. The second strategy is to provide fiscal measures to protect not only the jobs and employment, but as well as the operations and liquidity of our business enterprise. So we need financial support to sustain the tourism business and employment, and also a policy support to prevent the financial and business solvency. So we are proposing a low interest, no soft loans to be exact, to our enterprises. We are also proposing a tax exemptions or a grace period during this time, and also on the part of the tourism Department of Tourism, we are waiving our accreditation fees for our accredited establishment. Third is to provide non-fiscal measures in the form of physical and infrastructure support to destination and businesses to adapt to the new normal environment, as well as institutionalized measures for the new normal environment. Among these are issuances of safety protocols, provisions of PPAs, and also providing the necessary guidance or standards for the operations of our accommodation establishment. Fourth is on providing market incentives and support to business and destinations to access, for now, the domestic tourists, but in the medium term, the international tourists. So we are crafting incentives for our affected tourists and travelers that some of them are now still in Palawan. I think 500 plus of our foreign guests are still in Palawan. Market and product development support, and also marketing and promotion. So with these new normal conditions, as an example, we can adopt a virtual tour, for example, for underground river, para lang ano, yung parang to entice them once we are ready to na ma-feel and yung experience undergoing the traversing the underground river. And lastly, yung sa capacity building and livelihood for industry stakeholders. This is also critical considering that we need alternative livelihoods as of the moment for our enterprise as well as our tourism workers. We need to converge with other national government agencies like Department of Labor and Employment, DTI, or the Department of Agriculture. And also coping mechanism strategic training modules to be able to reskill or upskill our stakeholders. As of the moment, we are doing an ongoing training webinars with our accommodation association in Puerto Princesa, hospitality business model, and also customer service design for them to adjust their business model, incorporating this new normal, and how to not only reduce costs in terms of business operation, but as well as providing a mechanism for them to support each other, not competing with each other. Next slide. To give you an update for the response actions of the Department of Tourism in MIMAROPA, we have assisted around 262 domestic tourists. We provided a 2,000 worth of voucher that they use to buy food items or to across the MIMAROPA regions. We also assisted around 7,000 foreign tourists and for about 450 domestic tourists through sweeper flights and also through ferries. In terms of the TUPAD and CAMP program of the Department of Labor and Employment, unfortunately, as of the moment, we only have 2 approved applicants for TUPAD and 4 for CAMP. But we have submitted roughly around 1,600 applicants. Majority are in Palawan, and also about 93 for CAMP applicants across the MIMAROPA region. Next slide. As I mentioned earlier, we crafted or established a webinar training series for our different tourism stakeholders. We have conducted hospitality business model and customer experience design training for the accommodation association in Puerto Princesa. We will roll out these across the MIMAROPA provinces by June and July. We are also targeting an orientation for them to start. They need to we need to set the standards and protocols in terms of operating the accommodation enterprises. So we will be having a briefing with the OH. For the tour guides, we are planning to have a training on effective oral communication initially for Puerto Princesa, as na-mention sa amin ng tourism office ng city na may demand for business process outsourcing na employment. So we will push for this type of training as well as for food sanitation and safety and training for our travel operators, tour and travel agencies. Next. Aside from the responses of helping our stranded tourists, this will not be possible without the creation of our command center and mainly with the help of our local government units. So nagpapasalamat kami sa lahat ng ating governors and also city and municipal mayors for assisting us, as well as our LGU tourism officers that sila talaga yung on the ground that is assisting the Department of Tourism for our stranded tourists. And also close coordination with the different national government agencies as well as the private commercial airlines and also the sea vessel that cooperated na para magkaroon ng special route or special flights for us to bring back yung mga tourists to their home country or home residence. And lastly, we also now doing modification to our regional tourism development plan. So to incorporate the projections in terms of tourist arrivals and the new normal, so that the regional tourism development plan will be realistic in terms of projections as well as in terms of strategic interventions for the response and likewise for recovery and rehabilitation of our tourism industry. Let me end this presentation by citing a quote by Elizabeth Edwards saying that resilience is accepting your new reality, even if it's less good than the one you had before. You can fight it, you can do nothing but scream about what you have lost, or you can accept that and try to put together something that is good. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, RD Chris. Very comprehensive presentation. I'm sure we got some information from that. So we'll be back to you later with more questions from our audience. Now we would like to go on to our next guest, Brian.
Hi, Joe. Thank you. And
Sir
good
Brian,
afternoon to all.
good afternoon. By the
Uh,
way, mayroon bumabati ng happy birthday sa'yo. Birthday mo ba?
yeah, it was yesterday.
Ah,
Thank you.
yesterday. Belated happy birthday, Brian.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
so
please go ahead.
celebrate the birthday in quarantine. Ano? Ang
I know.
tahimik.
Sige, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so I have a very brief presentation about give a situation or about Puerto Princesa, um, our situation currently. So as mentioned, I lead the Association of Accredited Tourist Accommodation of Puerto Princesa, or ATAP. And also, we are a member of the City Tourism Council, who's taking the lead as well, covering all of the sectors under the tourism sector of Puerto Princesa. Yeah, let's proceed to the next slide. So today is all about issues, challenges, and action planning. Just to let you know and let our listeners know, um, even before we started the lockdown, airlines, travel, and we stopped accepting guests. This should be the high season for us, April, towards May and summer season. But we welcome it with open arms that the government took an initial step to close down the island. One of the things that I believe is an advantage is that being a strip of island, we can easily, not necessarily easily, but we can control. We have better control with who will come inside the island and who goes out. So we are also happy that we didn't have any positive cases and big surge of cases. So we're really looking forward that when the mass testing happens, we'll be much more comfortable to know that we really are COVID free, and that is definitely something we look forward then in terms of promoting and when we start to accept tourists coming into the island. So let's move on to the next slide. I listed down for you or for everybody our I would say a broken down list of sentiments and issues and challenges currently. So number one, and you can see across the whole four major sectors that we under the um, tourism industry here in Puerto Princesa as the displaced workers. So when the lockdown kicked in, a lot of us closed doors, restaurants, hotels, tour sites, travel and tours. So the following day they said, "What are we going to do?" Majority of the companies still continued to pay their employees through their SILs or whether other entitlements that they have. But we're already 2 months in, shall we say, on the modified GCQ. So even though we're easing up, as far as movements are concerned, we're still not getting, as what RD mentioned a while ago, the supply chain. No. So booking and cancellation and refunds was also one of the things that came out when we did our survey. So uh, most of the hotels before can easily say you can cancel but you cannot refund. But now for humanity's sake or for humanity's consideration purposes, we eased up on that. And a lot of the hotels has given refunds due to COVID-19 cancellations. So reduce operations also results to reduce number of staff working in the hotel. Um, there's also going to be a possibility of additional investments coming in, depending on the new guidelines that will be released for accommodations, on what PPEs, what additional measures we need to put at our front desk in terms of discussing what will be the new normal. We also still say our concern about the unregistered businesses operating as homestays. So currently, the the ones suffering right now are mostly the registered businesses, and because of the cheap um, price of some of the houses that are now occupying. Some of the guests are occupying their rooms right now. That's definitely one of the pain points. For the travel and tours as well as the tourism sites, uh, they wish really to hear something about how will the work from home system will work. For the transportation, of course, the reduced trips. For entrepreneurs who bought new vans that are under loan or bank loans have been really requesting for a freeze or at least help coming from the government on how they can deal with that with the banks. Of course, one of the hardly hit are the tour guides, mostly on the informal sector. Zero sales right off the bat. So right now, they're really looking at alternative sources of income, basically just as a response to their day-to-day needs. Next slide, please. So basically, the road ahead, I'm sure you can see the three main blocks, which is basically the same blocks that are being used on a national level. So survival, transitional, and structural. So under survival, it's all about keeping whatever cash you have. So we are requesting from the LGU, we call this business tax holiday for the next 2 years. Of course, with the guidance of the local government, what can be given and what cannot be given. We're having a dialogue on that. Training and retooling for the displaced tourism workers. As a matter of fact, we've identified three major sectors that hopefully we can retool some of our displaced workers. That includes agriculture, BPO or IT, and construction. uh, Today's discussion is all about restart. So cash is definitely going to be helpful. So restart loans to be discussed with some of the partner banks and actual billing for utilities. I think the RD also answered this one already, waiving for accreditation fees and membership fees. In the spirit of that, our association will also be waiving the fees for the year to encourage more members. Under transitional, monitoring and reporting of the established channels for redirected employees. Of course, if we send our workers to the different sectors, we want to be sure that there's level of success. Establishing stricter screening process when we open. We don't want our hard work to go to waste. Add the 2 months of staying at home, being in quarantine, and then if we don't do proper screening by the time we open, that's definitely going to be work wasted. We also wanted to reassess guidelines to allow minimal tourism movements for local stranded individuals and foreign stranded individuals. Just so you know, we basically have around more or less 500 foreign and local stranded individuals in the island. They've been here with us for the last 2 months. So the risk of having the virus is has definitely been low. So risk management has to be done if we are going to allow minimal movements in some of the tourism sites. Application and implementation of the new GCQ guidelines and adjustment in terms of our marketing and promotional campaigns. So finally, under structural, we've crafted five main points here. So we need a well-crafted and well-communicated guidelines that we'll be able to comply with any steps needed to prevent any spread of disease. Standard emergency response plan or procedure for future cases when we start or even before we start opening. We also need to define the new traveler who are, what will be their new behavior. All this time in Puerto Princesa, we keep on talking about carrying capacity. We keep on talking about um, what are the expectations of our guests or incoming guests. So definitely we have a new traveler now, and we have to respond to them. Local food production in place. Agriculture is definitely one of the biggest uh, savior, I would say, in terms of food production. The island also rely on supply coming from in different provinces, even Manila. So this is really a wake up call for us to really bump up our food production, to lessen, that you need to rely to other provinces for food production. And basically, the new destination. What is Puerto Princesa going to be? Who are the people in Puerto Princesa when they come here? And that's basically the new program. Not necessarily the new normal, but the new Puerto Princesa that's coming out after this COVID-19. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Brian. Very good points that you made there. Very lot of questions that I will probably ask you later. But it's good to know that Puerto Princesa is moving also, no, preparing for the post-COVID situation. So
Yeah,
thank you for your
you're welcome.
presentation. Now we would like to go to Mr. Rene Suarez, the general manager of the Microtel Windham in Puerto Princesa, to give us also his views and some updates, probably from his part of Palawan. So Rene, please.
Hi, thanks, Jojo. Yeah. First of all, I'd like to thank you, for organizing this series of talks, webinars. No, this has been really very helpful for the industry in general. We've come to rely on your um, communications through group chat in Viber and Facebook and even in these webinars. So it's really very helpful. I'd like to thank your leadership of the Tourism Congress. So and also RD Chris, I'd just like to thank you also and your entire team, DOT MIMAROPA, for the series of trainings that you've organized for us. The first two that we've attended this month was the new business model and the customer journey has been very helpful. At least it gave the staff who are all looking, have nothing to do. At least they have learnings now. So and it has been really an eye-opening activity in how we can improve and match match up on the new challenges brought about by this new normal. Um, see, President Brian already discussed some of the challenges and the situation in relation to the accommodations sector here in Puerto Princesa already. So I wouldn't get into more detail about that. Uh, but yeah, as we talked about earlier, the Puerto Princesa has around 400 accommodation establishments. So a lot of those, actually majority, if not all, are closed, except for a few that were accommodating BPOs, and but even that has dried up now as the GCQ progressed. So we're really looking forward to the repatriated OFWs and the stranded local residents. At least this would fill up some of the hotels who would be acting as quarantine facilities. This would be very helpful for most of the accommodations. At least it will tie them for at least an entire month now with the 14-day quarantine requirement. And then probably for even if we just receive two batches of that, that would be very helpful for a lot of us. Um, I'd also like to thank the ATAP, no, under the leadership of Brian Dizon. They've been very active with helping the other accommodations as well as the frontliners with food drives that they've established, giving with the kitchen program of the city tourism office also, no. So we've been feeding the frontliners, medical staff, and those with our police and military. So a lot of the activities we've had recently in relation to how to sustain the tourism sector and the accommodation sector specifically uh, moving forward in this new normal. Uh, the City Tourism Council has really been very active on that, and a lot of the a lot of the issues that we've uncovered has been presented already also by RD Chris, no. But I just like to thank the help and the assistance that has been given by the USAID under Miss Cecil and the City Tourism Council and the City Tourism Office of Puerto Princesa under Miss Ailina Morano. So yeah, yung Brian mentioned that our being an isolated island away from the rest of the country has both been probably a blessing and a curse. As the blessing is we've had fewer incidents of the COVID-19, but it also affected our supply chain. No? So we really have to revisit how we can be more self-sufficient as a province, so that wag naman sana, but I'm sure this is going to happen again sometime in the future. Hopefully not too soon, but yeah. So we really need to revisit our strategies, and as in the accommodation sector, especially how we can cope up with the new requirements of this new normal. So I guess a lot of the hotels are already in the process of putting in place the new sanitation and safety protocols. So yung the availability of masks and sanitizers for when we're welcoming guests should be in place, and then probably even the thermal scanner. Although a lot of studies have been shown that it's a lot of the positive COVID-19 positive patients have been asymptomatic. So, but still, it can be helpful in showing in getting early warning for our new patients or guests. But yeah, to address some of that, we all have to put up new sanitation protocols, the availability of sanitizers throughout the property, maybe signages to inform the guests, no, to remind them. Kasi I'm certain that as soon as the GCQ is lifted, everyone would flock to the just to get out of the house, no, because of cabin fever. They want to get out, and there's a good possibility that they might forget the social distancing protocol. So a lot of signages throughout our properties would be very helpful, and trainings for the staff also, no, to remind them that we all have to have face masks, we all have to wear the face shields and gloves. Um, in Microtel, we're also putting in place sanitation procedures that are more frequent than what is normally done. And if before the practice has been to be invisible to guests, no, that we do the service even without them seeing. Now I guess it would be normal that they see that, and they would be more put in at peace when they see that the even the just the public areas, the lobbies, the hallways are being sanitized regularly. So I guess these are just some of the changes that we have to make moving forward as we move forward into the new normal. So the availability of the hand washing stations even just before they enter the property, and then we would have to have alternative services already. So there's a lot of we see online yung how the virus spreads pag may buffet. So I guess we would have to do away with the buffet breakfast at least temporarily until such time as the vaccine has been developed. Uh, and of course, yung mga areas where guests normally congregate, like gymnasiums and spas, so we'll probably have to limit guest access to those. Uh, but then this does not excuse us from giving the guest service that they look for and deserve. No? So we have to even step up all the more. because face-to-face contact has to be limited, we have to make up for it by giving more personalized service, uh, and to be able to anticipate what they would be needing in this new normal. So I guess, yeah, these are just some of the things that we have to adjust to, the minimize the guest contact. So even with check in and check out, so we'd have to leverage new technologies for this. Probably with registration being done not at the front desk anymore, but guests can do it in their cell phones even before they arrive. And then with the checkouts, we could probably send emails before the guests check out, for them to check their folios to see if everything is correct, so that when they do check out, it's just going to be a matter of payment. Hopefully cashless, no? So there's a lot of options already with Paymaya, Gcash, even the WePay Chat and Alipay, no? So there are a lot of technologies that we can leverage and we can use. So these are, yeah, just some of them. And as we go along, I'm sure there's going to be a learning curve for everyone. Not all the procedures that we envision would work, and that we need to adjust these. So everyone has to observe what works for them, and then what's good about this is we can share best practices. So I guess that's it. Thank you very much, and we'll welcome your questions.
Thank you very much, Rene. And if we can bring back our other panelists also. So, well, again, thank you very much for all the insights you have given us with regard to Palawan and RD Chris for Mimaropa. We've all been talking about the eventual recovery or the possible eventual recovery of tourism here in the Philippines. Let me ask you a Palawan specific question. No? Number one, my first question is, and this is for all three of you. How do you intend to keep Palawan in the consciousness of travelers, not only domestically, but our international travelers as well?
Well,
Yeah.
it,
Sure, Rene. Rene.
Rene, go ahead,
oh
please.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You know what the marketing principle really is. Eh, out of sight, out of
Of the
mind.
point.
Eh, diba?
Mhm.
So yeah, what's nice about today's social media environment is it's very easy to always be out there, advertising your property, even just with a Facebook post or Instagram, just to make people remember. Oh yeah, I remember that place. I'd like to go back to that place once this is all over. No? So it's really just putting yourself out there, making yourself remembered and known to people, so that once this is lifted, yeah, people have you as in their bucket list.
Okay,
Yun.
thank you. RD Chris, would you like
To add
to
to
say
what
something?
Rene had, to add to what Rene had said, you can also do top yung, remember we have around 7,000 foreign tourists and
Mm.
around 600 domestic tourists na we assisted and we ensured that they are safe while staying in Palawan while we are waiting for their sweeper flights and boat vessel schedule. So we can also tap them to as a marketing arm. So kailangan lang siguro we go out of the box and think of a marketing strategy that we can use to for them to remember how exciting, how enjoyable Palawan is. Not only but Palawan, but also for other destinations in Mimaropa. So one is yun nga, yung the social media will be a good medium. Uh, the But I think another important thing right now for the new normal is to ensure they are safe here. Pag bisita nila, they will be they are Kumbaga, kung noon ang tinitingnan natin is lugar, maganda yung tulugan, ngayon siguro pag na-lift na yung community quarantine or ma-modify general quarantine tayo, safe ba yung lugar na pupuntahan? And I'm sure we can do that with proper LGU issuances, proper guidance and protocols na ibibigay ng Department of Tourism, as well as yung communication and coordination naman with our accommodation establishment, our different stakeholders will be there. So, tulong-tulong lang, kumbaga.
Okay. Brian, you want to add anything?
Yeah, that's right. No, so remember even before the GCQ, the promotion of Palawan has always been nature based. It's always go out to nature, explore the trails, which is, if you think about it, that's what the new normal is starting to suggest. Huwag ka magstay don't stay in a room where there's a lot of people. Well, if you see the beaches in Puerto Princesa, you could definitely have your own space, as much as 2 meters if you like. And we really have to leverage on that Palawan is safe. The guidelines is really, really important. I can't really stress that enough, that these are the guidelines. The people of Palawan will live by those guidelines, and really carry that, especially by the time guests are starting to come in. And my final note on this is, you can already see some posts coming from guests who decided to stay here in Palawan. My personal conversation with one of the foreign stranded guests uh, is that they prefer to stay here instead of going home, landing in Manila with a number of uncertainties if they can go back to their country. So that itself is a very good testament. Jo.
Okay, thank you very much, Brian. Okay, we've been talking about safety and health protocols, and that is something that I think all destinations will have to really focus on once tourism restarts again. And I just hope that the private sector, we in the private sector, will also help in policing our ranks as far as sticking to the protocols are concerned. Kasi this is really for all our benefits naman eh. The more that we can show that we strictly adhere to all of this, then chances are we will be able to attract more tourists because they will feel safe, they will feel secure once they're here. So I hope that's something that we can continue to work on. No, of course with the help of the DOT. That goes without saying. Um, Question with regard to, since we're talking about health and safety protocols now. One thing that I've always thought about, especially when it comes to our regional destinations, is the availability of the supply of materials like Rene mentioned earlier, the sanitizers, the face masks, and other materials that you would need. Is that something that you anticipate will be a problem, or would it be easily available to the stakeholders in Palawan? Or hoteliers, if you want to answer that.
Right now we're really having a difficult time sourcing for these. No, although some have arrived, but yun, these were really given priority to the frontliners, no. So, and we don't begrudge them that, no. Talagang sila yung mas may kailangan nun. But yeah, we really have to uh, get our supply chain updated and maybe upgraded so that we will have continue, not just one time delivery, but it has to be continuous, because we these PPEs, the face masks, these are all disposables, no? So a lot of them are. So yeah, we really need help in sourcing for these materials.
Okay, good. Well, maybe that's something RD Chris can also take
Yeah.
note of, because we're also looking at possible ways to make all of these materials easily available to tourism
Yeah.
stakeholders, because that will be something that 'di ba? RD Chris, that's
Yes, it's critical din kasi to coordinate, and good thing that I'm a member ng regional IATF and also the regional task force, so we can do some network with them. And tama sinabi ni Rene, no, talagang you need to look at the supply chain kung saan ka nagka-problema ngayon in terms of their business ngayon. And hopefully yung feedback mechanism from them or from your group to the government through the Department of Tourism will be open, kasi hindi necessarily na we will answer every problem, but we will find ways to answer that and find the right agency to assist us on that.
okay. That's going to be one of the main concerns that we will have, no? But as we do a progressive opening of tourism in the country, we want to implement it, pero kung kulang tayo sa materyales, that becomes a different question. Another question to RD Chris. RD Chris, we were talking about it earlier. That you said there are about what 400 tourists, but there who decided to just stay in Palawan
Yeah.
to ride out the. No, can you give us an idea what made them decide to do that, and what are their experiences so far, as far as you know?
Uh, Majority of them are in Puerto Princesa, San Vicente, El Nido. So majority of them also are yung country nila is experiencing, this is a worldwide
Yeah.
pandemic.
Yeah,
And some of them or majority of them will say na much safer kami dito sa Palawan kesa sa pumunta kami ng Manila. We're not sure if we're going to take to we can take a flight out, makapag-book kami. So, kung magstay para raw sila sa Manila, then might as well stay here. Mas safer, yung mas calm ang environment. Although I know some LGUs are strict on syempre, we are under ECQ before, so
yeah,
natural yon. But majority of them say na they feel safer dito. Not unless na may sure silang flight out, not
yeah.
unless they have sure transportation from Palawan to Manila and out immediately, mas prefer nila na magstay pa sa Palawan and other provinces ng Mimaropa.
That's no, that's a good statement with regard to our hospitality. Diyan sa Puerto Princesa, Brian, you have I'm sure you also have people who are riding out the pandemic there. What's their experience been so far?
Yeah, so I think I mentioned a while ago personal conversation with some of the guests. Even before sweeper flights are in place.
Yeah,
That's right. RD said that we'd better be locked down here instead if there's uncertainty for us to reach our country. Um, uh, Most of them have been really pleasant. Funny thing is, some of them are already asking for brooms. Or dustpans, and said that we can clean the room ourselves. You don't have to send us housekeepers, which is a very good sign. We haven't been managing any guest complaints, to be honest with you, and they've been really understanding of the current situation and thankful that we stayed open, so that they
yeah.
have a place to stay.
Are we extending anything special? Alam mo na, yung spirit natin na mabait tayo sa mga bisita. Are we giving them food or whatever just to make them more comfortable? What's that experience been?
Yeah, so definitely we'll start with very good discount. When they signify their intention to stay here. So yeah, RD, we followed your so we did, and after that, since they've been here, we get to know them even more. Just like our Filipino spirit, makatao. We
Yeah,
we start to share. Our meals with them.
yeah,
We've opened our kitchen if they wish to cook their own meals. So with a very little issue before, when the quarantine passes are being strictly implemented, um, because some of them were not really allowed to get a quarantine pass, so they're not allowed to go out. So
Hmm.
then we had call some of our staff, whatever you need to buy, we can buy it for you in the meantime, But now that we have eased up a little bit, now they're starting to see, they can start to walk down the streets again.
Yeah. Okay, it's
Yeah.
good. Yeah. We again earlier also when we were backstage, we were discussing about um, if Palawan is already open to visitors, if ever. And I think it was mentioned for now, I think it's still pretty much closed door pa din kayo, no? Because I think
Yeah.
the provincial and the LGUs really want to preserve the COVID freeness, I guess, of Palawan. But there have been some discussions about the possibility of maybe direct flights from countries that may want to visit already. If Manila or the NCR as the main gateway is still not ready, can they
Mm.
fly directly not only to Palawan but to Cebu, Bohol, as if they are open? What do you think of that?
Yeah. I think the local government is really straight with, we can hold this position as long as we can. But of course, we have mouths to feed. We have rooms to fill. So the discussion is, about third quarter of this year. Of course, every day stories developing. Every day we don't know if we're gonna have some positive cases tomorrow, so it might change. But discussions are really in place right now, especially about recovery.
Yeah.
And part of the discussion on recovery is when we can start accepting, tourists again. And again, I said this a while ago. Guidelines is important. Will we be allowing GCQ to end to MGCQ, or vice versa? So that has to really be spelled out.
Okay.
To follow up,
Yeah, I was going to direct a question to you, RD Chris.
yeah.
Yeah, you follow up, please, and then answer this question. No? Just to be clear to some of our viewers, what is the current status of Palawan or Mimaropa in general as to accepting tourists already? Para lang klaro tayo, because some people might are confused about what the status is. So
Mm.
please go ahead.
Our status now is we are under GCQ, but we are not accepting any. We are only focusing now on returning stranded individuals from other countries, other areas to Palawan or to Mimaropa, or vice versa. Those stranded local individuals, either foreign or domestic, out from Palawan or out from Mimaropa to other destinations that are allowed na mag-accept ng mga locally stranded individuals. Ah,
Yeah.
Following up doon sa sinabi ni Bri, yeah, critical yung sa standards, he's mentioning the standard. Kasi,
Yeah.
one, we need to look at also the capacity and preparation ng airport, ng CAAP, ng testing facilities in Palawan o other areas ng Mimaropa. Kasi that's a very critical risk management tool para sa policy decision makers to open up Palawan or tourist destination. Isa yon. Second
Yeah.
is, in place ba yung LGU issuances? Just like what the Secretary Berna Puyat has said, dapat yung minimum health and safety standards and protocols should be in place. Meron ba ang Puerto Princesa? Meron na ba ang buong Palawan as a provincial government or even the other areas in Mimaropa? Second, ready ba yung tourist destinations natin? Meron na ba tayong locally issued guidance, say, for underground river, for Puerto Princesa island hopping, or city tour for the tourist areas around Puerto Princesa. Meron ba tayong in place na? So, tama yon, critical yung standards and protocol in place. And laging sinasabi ni Sec, yung healthy and safety protocol, sanitation protocol should be in place bago tayo mag-isip na mag-open. Kasi ayaw natin na okay na nga tayo, biglang we open up, bigla na namang nagkaroon ng burst ng mga cases. So, siyempre, that will be very economically painful for the region as well, lalo na sa mga tourism workers natin.
Yeah. Good. We received some comments from our viewers that some of the people stranded there are featuring blogs and vlogs. So I think that's one way of keeping Palawan also in the consciousness of our travelers. So congratulations to all of you there. Good job. Diba? Any kind of press is welcome. Let me direct a
Yeah.
question to Rene. No, Rene, um, how do you think Palawan, how open will Palawan be considering na wala pang vaccine, no? Just in case, RD Chris mentioned earlier na baka August pa or September kung sakali, no? Ang tinitignan
Si
ng
Brian
ano,
nagsabi.
si Brian, okay. But anyway, considering let's say that Palawan is placed as a low risk area and sabihin na natin that tourists will be allowed to travel, how open do you think and this is a question that RD Chris can also answer. No, how open will Palawan or Mimaropa region will be to tourists when they start coming in?
Okay,
Maybe you start with you, Rene.
depending dun sa situation. Kasi, um, di ba, we were actually declared na low risk, di ba? A couple of weeks ago. But
Yeah.
we saw the uproar that came from the resident, no, talaga sila yung ayaw
Okay.
mawala na doon sa ECQ. But I
Yeah.
guess right now kasi meron ng we have a COVID-19 testing facility already. It was just opened a couple of days ago sa Hospital ng Palawan. So I guess this would ramp up the availability of testing.
Yeah.
So I get, yeah, especially if there's a vaccine developed already, I guess people will be more accepting of foreign tourists or even just domestic tourists.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
At totoo, yeah.
Yes. Yes. RD
Maybe
Chris.
I should correct yung nasabi ni Rene. Hindi naman maling, ano na. But all of the Philippines is under quarantine pa rin.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
For Mimaropa, we are under general community quarantine. So, ibig sabihin nun, yung minimum health and safety standards should be in place all throughout. So, ang question mo is, how open yung magiging rules pagpasok sa MIMAROPA? Well, katulad sinabi ko kanina, it will depend on the existing structures and policies, governance policy, and also infra in terms of safety protocols na nandun na in place sa bawat lugar. Doon sa nabasa kong article kahapon, quoted Secretary Berna, we're looking at kasi yung kung in place na yung safety and health protocols, yung minimum standard ay nandoon. So, and looking at the destination and also the tourist activity, kung malakihan ba o maliitan. So doon pa lang, titingnan pa lang yon. So we are developing that guidance, inaayos pa lang natin yan. So hindi ko directly masabi na ganito, 50% will be open, 30%. Depende pa lang, it's a case to case how ready is the local government is, how ready yung mga tourism stakeholders natin, and how ready yung ating community and constituents ng LGU to follow the rules na pag sinabing social distancing, carrying capacity will be follow all throughout. So critical din yung sinasabi ni Brian kanina na constant reminder sa workers, constant reminder sa mga stakeholders na you should follow this rule by heart. Kasi once na magkaroon ng spread na naman ng disease, yun na naman. Magkakaroon naman tayo ng malaking problema. So, ganun ko muna siya sasagutin, Jo.
Okay, thank you very much, RD Chris. Okay, may isang tanong again for RD Chris, no? Mukhang ngayon lang pumapasok talaga yung mga tanong. Is it possible to have an idea for Puerto Galera tourism? Did Batangas open the boat crossing?
From Batangas to
To Mindoro. to Puerto Galera?
Particularly.
We issued already the locally standard individual guidelines. So they need to coordinate lang sa LGU kung nasan sila, LGU of origin. May mga template yun, kung saan sila pupunta, kung Puerto Galera, saan doon. And then afterwards, the LGU of origin will request for a travel authority sa Joint Task Force on TB Shield. Usually, PNP na mag-i-issue ng travel authority. But ang assurance, dapat may health certificate sila nag-undergo ng 14-day quarantine. Tapos, if naging probable case siya ng COVID-19 o positive case siya ng COVID-19, there should be a PCR test results twice na nag-negative. Pag nakatouch yun, the PNP, kung inter-region, the PNP Regional Office of MIMAROPA will issue the travel authority para makatawid siya sa Puerto Galera. So, in place naman yun. Also, alam ko, nag-post ako sa FB na na may mga rates na discounted rates ang mga vessels from Batangas to Puerto Galera or to Calapan, sorry.
Okay, good to know. So those yung mga tanong. Okay, maybe time for our last questions to our panelists before we ask them for their last for the final statements. Question to our hoteliers first. Brian and Rene, this is for both of you. What would you advise to your fellow stakeholders, especially you, Brian? You're the head of your association. What would you advise to them on how to keep going during this time? What's the best advice that you can give them?
Number one is we really have to be open and talk to each other. RD mentioned a while ago, this is not the time to compete. There's no reason for us to compete. There's nothing to compete about. So it's really us working together and come up with a reasonable win-win solution.
Okay. Na-mute. You're muted.
Sorry.
Yeah.
There you go.
You were saying,
So
yeah.
something that we can arrive into a win-win solution. We need to hear them out. Actually, I mentioned a while ago that our association waived the membership fees. One of the vision of ATAP is really to have open channel of communication between big hotels and smaller hotels, and we remove that barrier so that everyone have their own voice. So everyone has a say, and Rene can attest to that whenever we hold our general membership meetings. So all I can say is, other than following the standard protocols in preventing the spread of this disease, let's have the open communication and take part, participate, suggest, and be one basically. That's all.
Okay. Very good. Thank you very much, Brian. Rene, what would be your piece of advice to your fellow hoteliers or the tour operators or the tourism stakeholders there?
Yeah, I guess what I tell my staff also, no, this would not last. No, there's going to be progress made in the development and research for a vaccine. So life will go on. We just have to adjust and adapt to the new normal. The faster we can do that, the faster we can get back to work. The faster we can, and it might be an opportunity for us, no, because the Philippines or the Palawan specifically has a good record for uh, so far, no, has a low COVID uh, outbreak, no. I think there's only been two positive so far. So once this is all over, we can hit the ground running. We put all our protocols in place, get ready. So as soon as it's lifted, we're able to welcome our guests again with us with the vaunted Filipino hospitality. So yeah, we'll be in a good place. This won't last forever.
Thank you, Rene. Last question to RD Chris. Short answer lang. If there is what is your one positive takeaway from this COVID pandemic? Positive takeaway.
Yo, hindi kita. Yo.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Yeah. Can
Yes,
you
yes.
hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Short answer lang. Short answer lang. If there is one positive takeaway that you have during this time of COVID, what would it be?
Filipino hospitality and bayanihan spirit still exists kahit ngayong
Ay, naputol. Yep. Nako, ganda pa naman ang sasabihin ni RD Chris. But anyway, while we wait for him, no, Brian, any last words before
ay,
we... Ayan, bumabalik siya. Ayan, yan.
bumalik na.
Okay, sige.
Nawala ako Sorry,
Okay.
Filipino hospitality and bayanihan spirit still exists even millennials na tayo, tayo no? Even sa millennials na ngayon na panahon, no? We are facing a challenge and problem na I think every century andyan, ano. It's once in a lifetime opportunity na magkaisa tayo, magtulungan, and show the world how Filipino hospitality and bayanihan is. No? We have shown them during our almost 3 months na pagtutulungan sa mga na-stranded nating mga tourists, foreign and domestic alike. Although hindi naman natin lahat mapapasaya, so limited din naman ang ating resources. But then again, our spirit of tulungan at bayanihan and hospitality still lives on till this day. So nagpapasalamat kami especially for the local government units and the private sector na alam naman natin na marami at malaki na itutulong sa tourism stakeholders and tourism industry. And as long as we are here to help and assist in whatever capacity we can, especially under the leadership of Secretary Rene Suarez. Alam naman natin gaano siya magtrabaho. Kahit alam mo yan, Joe, kahit isang maliit na bagay, kailangan mo talagang tuunan ng pansin kahit sino yan. Ay isang ordinaryong tao, kailangan mo pa rin tulungan. And yun yung isang na talagang in-instill namin sa regional office of the MIMAROPA. Whatever possible we can help. Kahit minsan hindi na namin mandate, tumutulong just to show yung hospitality ng mga Pilipino ay nandiyan. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, RD Chris. And with that very hopeful and very inspiring words from RD Chris, we would like to thank our speakers this afternoon, RD Chris Morales, Mr. Brian Dizon, and Mr. Rene Suarez. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Hopefully, you can join us again when we can do another update on what's going on in the Mimaropa, Palawan area. And to all our viewers, thank you very much for choosing to spend your Friday afternoon. Long weekend tayo ngayon, kaya let's enjoy the 3-day weekend. And we will see you. And we will see you in our next webinar. Sometime we will make the announcement next week. So thank you very much. Have a happy weekend. Stay safe, and God bless you all. Mabuhay. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you.